Good evening, and welcome back to the Placid Plastic Podcast. I'm Lucas, and I'm here with my co-host David,
Hello.
and
How's everybody doing?
hopefully well, and hopefully ready to interact and tell us their stories and feelings.
So
um,
today I wanted to kick off by asking you if there was ever a type of a genre of game that you tried getting into growing up that you for some reason or not you couldn't get into, like first-person shooters or RPGs or like horror or racing or anything like that. Like, what's the type of genre of game you tried to play, multiple times, that you could never get into, and
well,
why?
it's interesting because it's more like that. There's a bunch of like when I was a kid, I'd play anything, right? But nowadays, I just can't bring myself to play anything. When it comes to like genre, obviously, if it's a bad game, it's hard for anyone to bring themselves to play it. But like I've played some MMOs, right? And I've talked about how I kind of hate MMOs these days because they're all the same. Nowadays, I just can't do it because they, like I said, their combat, their controls, they all play identically. There's the entire content of the game before the end game is get through this as fast as possible so you can play the end game. That's just a poor design choice. So it's like it's not fun to just sprint through these quests with these half-assed written things. Sometimes voice acted, sometimes not voice acted. When it is, I don't want it to be, so I can skip it faster. Like all these different things, I just don't like about them. There's that. There's like actually now a lot of people really like Dragon Age, and I really liked Knights of the Old Republic too when I played it on Xbox Classic, and it was great. And so like they're supposed to be similar types of games, right? But the way Dragon Age plays just makes me think it plays like Final Fantasy 14. So I get this feeling that I'm just doing the exact same thing, and I just couldn't get into it. And these not necessarily RPGs, but RPGs that play like that. I tried to play Knights of the Old Republic 1. I had the same problem. I was just like, this isn't as fun as I thought it was going to be, and I just couldn't get into it. That and RTSs. I've tried over and over and over again. Because sometimes I'll get in a mindset where I'm like, I'm RTX or RTS mode. I can do this, and I do, and then I get burnt out on it almost instantly, and I just can't keep up with it. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of genres of games, and a lot of them don't click. And it's a bit rough.
I'll give you I'll give you a genre and a series of games that are basically a genre at this point for mine. For me, like JRPGs are very, very hard for me to get into. And like, well, actually, before I continue that, like for the audience's sake, how would you separate, like, what's a clear distinction on what makes something a JRPG and a regular, like standard RPG? Like, what do you think is the main distinction for that?
That's a
Or,
my personal guess would be like, how anime is it?
fair enough. I guess if it was made in Japan. Well, the whole thing with that is like RPGs in general. Like I say JRPGs, but just the art, like, because like I played a lot of RPGs that were made in America, especially on the PS2, and it's very hard for me to really get invested because one, they're a massive time sink. Even like RPGs on the PS1 take so long to beat. Like I was playing this game called Parasite Eve, which was made by the boys at Square Enix, and it's basically their attempt. Like this was after they made Final Fantasy VII, and at the time, really what Square Enix was doing a lot at the time was just making Final Fantasy after Final Fantasy. Prior to the PS1, they were doing Final Fantasy on the Super Nintendo. They did Mario RPG back when they were Squaresoft, and they did Chrono Trigger as well. But they were like, if I remember correctly when I was reading into this game, Parasite Eve, basically the creators are like, all we've really done is Final Fantasy and like kid RPGs and whatnot. Why don't we try a horror RPG? And so that's basically what Parasite Eve is. It's like, what if it was a horror themed RPG? And
Oh,
like,
interesting.
and it's fun, and the game is really great, but my god, is it so long. And in my opinion, a lot of RPGs and JRPGs have a big tendency to really start like lagging at the end. Like they just keep going on and on and on, and especially when you get closer and closer to the end. And like that's why, like, for me, like, I could never really get into some of the newer Final Fantasies. Like, I mean, I think I said this in the previous episode, but like Final Fantasy VII to me is, oh no, I said it on a Discord hangout, that Final Fantasy VII is like super overrated. Like, not only is the story not that good, but I just find like just the overall like plot and what you have to do like very boring. And that's kind of like why it's hard for me to like our JRPGs and RPGs. Now, don't get me wrong, I have a lot of RPGs that I love. It's funny, it doesn't feel this way, but like you could technically consider Mass Effect 1 an RPG because the gameplay
I thought
of
the Mass Effect games were RPGs.
Not really the second and third one, but the first one definitely, because BioWare wasn't that long removed from doing the KOTOR games at the time. And if you look at like, I don't know,
maybe we should think about what's defining these things, because from my perspective, I thought RPG would be defined purely on being a choice-based like narrative with skill trees. Like that's how I would.
I was gonna say, yeah, like leveling up and choosing your character's class and stuff like, or tenets of an RPG in my opinion.
Yeah, but
and like stat leveling.
All the Mass Effects have that, don't they?
The first one does, but the second and third one, it's not. It's like very reined back in. Because like in the first game, you're leveling up. How strong is your pistols, your shotguns, your snipers?
I mean, yeah, you have weapon
rifles.
mods and all that.
You have different sets of armor you can find that boost your stats throughout the game. Remember that?
Yeah.
And you could give your armor to your teammates. Like if you find Turian armor, you could give it to Garrus. If you find Krogan armor, you can give it to Rex. They don't have that in the second and third game. The side characters don't get different armors, and they don't get different guns that you can give them.
So it becomes less of a party-based standard RPG thought and more of a single person that just kind of directs. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. But so going back to what I was saying earlier, like there are RPGs, like traditional RPGs that I really like Fire Emblem Path of Radiance is it's like my top 10 favorite games of all time, and that's an RPG, a JRPG. I just finished playing Dragon Quest VIII the other week. The first Dragon Quest I actually played all the way through, and I thought it was amazing.
Nice.
Granted, the ending was kind of like, getting to the end of the game was starting to drag a little bit. Like there was definitely a point in the game where I was like, okay, I hope we're getting to the end soon. But the overall experience was really great. I played various JRPGs in the past. Like when I was in high school, I had a lot more time to like sink into these, but maybe it's just kind of an age thing because, obviously with my life and my job and all the stuff I got going outside of, free time, it's hard for me to sit down, and I guess I'll play Final Fantasy 13 today, which by the way, I did try playing and it is very boring.
Always simulator?
Well, exactly. I was just about to say, like, so popular YouTuber JonTron many years ago, like over a decade ago at this point, made a Final Fantasy 13 video. They called it Final Hallway, and so that game got the reputation of just being one linear game, and it is like the most linear RPG I've ever played in my life. And
it's pretty sad.
It's just constant cutscene. That's another thing that really bothers me about RPGs, is like when it's just like cutscene after cutscene after cutscene after cutscene. And I swear to goodness, Final Fantasy 13 will have a cutscene. I'll walk like 5 steps, and there'll be another cutscene. I'll do a battle. I'll have another cutscene. I get out of the cutscene. I walk 5 steps, and I get another cutscene. And it's like, oh my god, this is not fun. I'm just watching a movie at this point.
Sounds like we need Kojima to make an RPG. Nothing but cutscenes.
See, that's why
It's
that's why Metal Gear Solid.
it's just a movie, and you have QuickTime events.
But see, that's why that's literally Metal Gear Solid 4. I
Yeah,
mean,
pretty much.
so for those of you that maybe have not played Metal Gear Solid 4, at the very end of the game, it gives you all your stats, and there's literally a stat for how much time you were playing the game and how much cutscenes you were watching. And I think when I just played it this like last year, I'm pretty sure I spent twice the amount of time sitting there and watching cutscenes than actually playing the game.
It's
Like Metal
pretty
Gear Solid
crazy.
4 is because Kojima for the longest time just wanted to make a movie, and I think MGS4 was like him being like, "Well, here's my movie," with the occasional stealth gameplay. It's not really that good because it's on a PS3 and it lags like shit.
A really contrived story.
Oh my goodness! Don't even get me started on the. I mean, talk about contrived story. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Yeah, JRPGs are really hard for me to get into. And then in terms of a game series that you could argue is its own genre, I have tried to play every single Soulsborne game ever at this point. I played Demon Souls, I played Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, I played Sekiro, I played Bloodborne, I played Elden Ring. And Elden Ring is the only game that I could put in the effort to actually continue playing. Every other game I've gotten to a point where it's just like, I am not enjoying this. I'm not having fun dying. Nah,
Yeah.
I just
Sorry,
don't.
you cut
can't
out.
get
I
into it.
lost you there.
Oh, I said I haven't.
No,
I've tried
like
to
having
play
fun
every
dying or something.
Yeah, I've tried to play every single one, and I don't have fun constantly dying over and over and over again. And it's even more annoying when you die once and you lose your souls, and then in the attempt to go get your souls back, you die and lose your souls forever. And it's like, oh, that's
Yep,
great.
that's the thing.
And Elden Ring's the only game that I could put in the effort to actually continue playing. Because every other game, and I put in a sincere effort for every other Soulsborne game, and I just could not do it. I understand the appeal, but man, is that series not for me.
Yeah, I actually very much like Soulsborne styles. I haven't played all of them, but I have played a few, like Dark Souls 1, of course. I played a little bit of Dark Souls 2 and know exactly why everyone hates it. Um, and then Bloodborne, of course. And the games that are in the style, but not actually from soft games, is Remnant from the Ashes is a great one. It's a shooter. It really just encompasses the a good blend of Dark Souls with guns. That's not Bloodborne. Please stop saying that when I say that. um, that's a really fun one. I really want to play Lies of P. That one seems really cool. Weird concept that he plays Pinocchio, but like it seems like a pretty interesting story. I wanna see what that's like.
I'm actually kind of curious when you said that you understand why people hate Dark Souls 2 so much. Can you kind of elaborate on why Dark Souls 2 is so hated?
Um, I my personal I only heard Dark Souls 2 is the worst Dark Souls, and I didn't really I would know that without playing it, right? And after spending so much time in Dark Souls 1, learning the areas, doing the stuff. Of course, there's things I hate about Dark Souls 1. I'm not going to say that. Oh, yeah, I love going to a pitch black fucking area and navigating by glowing stones on the floor. And if I walk too far, I'm going to fall off a cliff. Great. No, that's fun. No, that was annoying. The Giant's Tomb was irritating, and Blight Town was a laggy mess that nobody liked going into. Right? That everybody knows that. Everybody feels that way, probably. But the rest of the game, anything above ground was just wonderful. The Anor Londo is a little weird, but like I didn't hate that area at all, minus some of the cheap bullshit. But that's kind of, Dark Souls. There's cheap bullshit around. Then Dark Souls 2, you show up and you're in this. It feels kind of deserty, and that alone isn't like a problem. Deserts aren't good settings in my opinion because they're just the places you never want to be. But it transitions away from that pretty fast. It just doesn't feel right. You know how Dark Souls have great map tie-ins? Like you go around, you do this whole thing. Guess what? Now there's a shortcut that leads right back down to where you started. So now you can just skip that whole thing. Like they do
Yes.
that, and they tie the map up really, really nicely, and it's one of the most impressive things in map design that any game developer I personally think has done. Dark Souls 2 has like none of that. You might have a shortcut here or there, but the entire map is just this long, spread out tendrils that just you teleport back to the main base, and you can't do all the same stuff. It's kind of like a Bloodborne where you have to talk to somebody to upgrade your stats and stuff, as opposed to just sitting at the bonfire and upgrading it like you would before. So like that, I thought that was a little weird. Making fast travel such a early thing that you just do, I felt like kind of ruined that feeling of progression within the map, and it just didn't feel good to play. Like the combat felt wonkier. Like it all just felt worse. Like if they just made it exactly the same combat as Dark Souls 1, I would feel better about it. Maybe add some things here and there for like options, but not actually changing timings on swings or kicks and jumps, things like that. I think that would have improved the experience largely, but I just felt that it just felt like a wrong version of the game. And I'm sad to say I haven't played Dark Souls 3, and I probably never will at this point. But I'll play more going forward. I really do need to play Elden Ring, but it's such a big fucking game, man. I don't have time for that.
What I heard that. Well, I know. Did the new Elden Ring DLC come out yet, or is that still?
Shadow of the Erdtree, is that what that was called? I
I think
don't
so.
know. I know it's been announced and it's supposed to be coming out. I don't know the date on it. Whenever Jacksepticeye releases a video, I'm sure that'll be the one he does.
Did you ever? So, we talked about this a little bit before we started the podcast. But you're really big into like first-person shooters, right? Maybe not really big, but you like them a lot, right?
I do enjoy first-person shooters. If a game is a first-person game, like, not that that's not going to be the draw that pulls me in, but like I'm more likely to play that than something that's third-person, just because a lot of the time I'll find a third-person game and it plays like an MMO. That's what I hate about it, or it's tactical in a way that I just don't want to deal with. But first-person shooters, they have the active interaction that you do is different, and that's what I like about them primarily.
What are some first-person shooters that you remember really liking growing up? Maybe you have fond memories of.
Well, I mean, there's the Halo games. Halo 1 through 4, I, of course, enjoyed all of those. Fallout 3 and 4, I really liked. I didn't like Fallout New Vegas growing up, but I've come to understand it a lot better now.
I thought you were gonna say appreciate it. My mind was about to be blown.
I mean, whoa, hey, calm down there. That's not on the podcast. Um, no, I do like New Vegas. I definitely need to mod it to enjoy it, to make it feel like it's a modern game, because I couldn't play Fallout 3 today. It just would feel so clunky and awkward, and I wouldn't like it. You can't play it
There's
without
mods to fix
that.
that, though, right?
But exactly, there's mods that make the game playable and feel more up to date, even if they're only just converting it to feel up to date, like adding a sprint function that uses your action points. Like, that's a super useful mod that actually just improves the game and modernizes it in a way that doesn't really change how the gameplay works all that much, which is just really cool. Those would be the first couple ones I'd probably pick. There's definitely more that I've probably played, but like I said, growing up, I've played a much larger slew of games than... Oh, Sons of the Forest and The Forest. I know they're survival crafting, but they're also first person is kind of the thing. But those games, I absolutely love them. Sons of the Forest, I think, is an absolute banger. Everything about Sons of the Forest, minus the exception of the lack of a grow bed that you put on the floor, I think is perfect.
And you like the second game more than the first game, right?
For Sons of the Forest, yeah, it's just more developed. It's everything the Forest was, but more so.
Is there anything that Sons of the Forest lacks that you would put in a third game if they did do a third game?
I don't know how they would really do a third game and keep their development the same way, because the Forest, it's like, oh, you found a gun. It's a fucking blunderbuss pistol, like it's a flintlock. There you go, that's your gun. The Sons of the Forest, they're like, oh yeah, here's a rifle, a shotgun, a taser, a pistol, a revolver. Like there's a whole arsenal, right? But it's also a slightly different paced game with different types of monsters and stuff. So like they are necessary and it works out well. But to take that a step forward and give it like the sequel treatment while continuing the story they're telling would be a hell of a challenge, I think. And they made massive changes to the way their construction worked from the first game, whereas you physically place the thing down where you want it and build on top of it from there, as opposed to place a blueprint and fill it out. And I think that's honestly one of the coolest things about it. That's my favorite aspect, is building. As I've said before on podcasts, I love building things. And Sons of the Forest makes it feel really good to build, I think. It's a little frustrating at times, but it's also really cool.
And going back to kind of what you said about first-person shooters, are you also kind of a fan of like over-the-shoulder third person, or is that not really your thing?
Oh no, I absolutely do enjoy a good third-person shooter. Like Helldivers is the third-person shooter right now. It's awesome, and it even has a first-person aim mode, which is, I personally think you can't play without it, but I don't know. Everyone's got their own ways to do things. Helldivers is a great one. No Man's Sky is a nice blend. You can do either way, and it works out pretty well. Let's see. Dragon's Dogma isn't a shooter, so I'm gonna cancel that. What I was about to say just then.
The iconic shooter, Dragon's Dogma.
Right. I was just thinking it's a third-person game, but Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption, absolutely those. Those are some of the, I don't want to say some of the best, but some of the most full. You can do so much with those. I could say that the Fallout games can be third person or first person, but they're really not third person games.
You could argue that GTA, especially GTA 5, is an RPG because the three characters all have stats that you can increase, and they all have different guns that you can buy to help make missions easier. So stat boosting and
go ahead.
No, you're saying I'm stretching it. You're saying it doesn't really work.
I'm saying you're taking Velcro and trying to turn it into a rubber band. It's just, I don't think it works at all. Like, sure, you can use them both to strap something down, but I don't think it's gonna have that elasticity you want.
All I'm saying is you stat boost, and you get the optimal gear to help beat missions. Sounds like an RPG to me.
There's no choices that you make at all. The narrative is purely railroaded.
Actually, that's not true. That is not true. You can make several different choices in the story. You could choose how you want to do heists in the game, and at the end, you can choose who you want to kill at the end.
That's like saying Mirror's Edge was an RPG because you can choose a different route to climb on. Like that's more of a that doesn't affect the story. There's no outcome changes, and I think an outcome change is necessary in one way or another for an RPG to really be affected like that, or to have some grand ending that you can choose between. Like even Dragon's Dogma, like I know it's it's supposed to be a big RPG. It's got all the stats, it's got the upgrades, it's got the party system that you upgrade your you can do your whole team's equipment, but it's really better just to do your one pawn's equipment. And then you make one decision about the ending. That's pretty much it, because all the stuff you do up to then doesn't fucking matter. Hopefully they fix that with DLC or something, because the story has some issues, but it's fucking fun. It's an absolute fun game. But yeah, GTA, not so much. The stat upgrades is a passive thing. It's not something that you can actively, like, you don't put points into it, you don't pick a perks, skill tree kind of thing. Your clothes don't matter. You can equip armor, but that's not really the same. That again, like what do you call it? what's that shit called? Battle Royale. You get armor, you get better weapons as you play, as you go forward, but it's not exactly an RPG either.
Yeah. No, I was just being silly because I was thinking about like what games do I have that you do stat increases and they're not RPGs. And then I went online real quick because I was like, wouldn't it be funny if Wikipedia listed GTA as a role playing game? But no, they list it as an action adventure game. So
That makes sense, yeah.
but what about it's kind of funny because like I went to college in the South, and all my friends, when I talk about games that they grew up with, they all played sports games. They played Madden, they played NBA 2K, they played Forza, and it was kind of interesting because I watched sports growing up, and I played sports growing up, but I didn't play sports games. They just never interested me. And like just recently, I tried out the newest Madden game, like the newest one, the brand new Madden. And I was like, the big common complaint with Madden is basically it's been the same game for a decade now. They just do roster updates and they charge you $60 for the newest, actually $70 now. They charge you $70 for a roster update pretty much. And so I played this newest Madden. I had a friend come down for the weekend to hang out, and we were playing the newest Madden. It was so fucking bad, dude. It was so bad. It was one of the most miserable gaming experiences I've ever had. It's just glitchy, buggy, a horrible mess, and like just the way the game, like the way you play the game, like what was happening didn't make any sense. It's just broken mess, and it's like, and of course, who else but EA would be the publisher, and they just, because they're the only franchise that makes NFL game, they can be as lazy as they want, and just constantly pump out garbage football games every year, do the bare minimum, and charge you $70. And man, I was just playing this newest Madden the other week, and I was like, this is just so terrible, genuinely miserable experience. So any of
EA
you
Sports.
out there,
It's garbage.
Pretty much, it's trash. Any of you in the audience that plays Madden, if you haven't played this newest one, don't. It's trash. And like every other sports game, it's kind of funny because like every other sports game, like there's like NBA 2K, there's a new WWE game every year. Same thing, like 2K instead of it's WWE 2K 24 is the newest one, and then there used to be college football, but that stopped a decade ago. And it's actually kind of funny if you find it's called NCAA and then whatever year. So like if you find NCAA,
is that what that was?
Yeah, NCAA 14. Copies are super expensive because that was the last college football game you could get at the time, and you could actually create your own roster. You could just continue making rosters. So like I could technically go into NCAA 14 and find out what the most recent college rosters are and just continue to like make them every year. So I could basically have a new experience every time a new year comes around. But yeah, copies of NCAA football 14 go for like $130, $150. So
What?
That's
Who's the clown
who's he,
that's buying that?
Oh, who's the clown? I don't know. Just college football fans. College football's huge in Texas. Massive. It's actually pretty crazy how like massive college football is out here.
College sports it's such a weird thing. It's like completely unofficial like league stuff, but it's also the people who are going to be in the league if they get pulled into it. So I don't know. It's like imagine this might be a bit of an unfair comparison, but imagine fucking watching Little League being like, these are the stars of the future. These guys, he's going to the Dodgers. He's gonna be a Red Sox. Like it just, I don't know. It might be an unfair.
People do that for high school football.
That's
like
fucking psychotic.
They legitimately, this is not a joke, they legitimately scout high school players, and they're like, oh, he's like, he'll break, if like there's a running back that breaks like a high school rushing record that year, they'll be like, oh, like let's say it's you, like, oh, the Lucas over here, he's
so athletic.
Amazing running back. He had a great high school career. And then there's a whole deal about where's he gonna go to college, and they'll like legitimately, they will actually have press conferences for these high schoolers to determine where they're going to college, and it'll be like this huge thing. So like if the Oregon Ducks call you, or the USC Trojans want you to come join them so you can go play for them, you'll have a big press conference, and you'll have, you know, two hats. You'll have the Oregon Ducks on the right, the USC Trojans on the left, and or maybe a third team like the Texas Longhorns, and then you choose, I'm going to go to, you know, USC, and it's like, whoa, he's going to USC, and then they'll closely monitor your college career. And then, of course, you know, college football, if you're amazing in college, they'll start talking about, oh, he's when he goes pro, you know, is he going to be amazing? And like, there are legitimate like draft prospects. Like, for example, for you sports fans in the audience, like the NFL draft is next week for this upcoming season. And so now it's like, oh, now it's like looking at all the college players that are going to be in the NFL next year, and like, you know, based on how good they were in college, and there's a lot of hype. And so there's a lot of college players that like were incredible in college and were like breaking long running college records, and they come into the NFL and they suck and they're terrible. Like, there's a long history of like really great, amazing college and high school players that transition into the NFL and they suck. And then on the vice versa, there's a lot of players that maybe, you know, weren't that good in college. Like Tom Brady wasn't really that special in college. That's why he was a 6th round pick. And then he ended up having the greatest career in football history, you know. Of course, then you got people like Michael Jordan, who were incredibly hyped all throughout high school and college, and ended up becoming the greatest basketball player, you know. Or LeBron, who was incredible in high school. He didn't go to college. He went straight from high school to NBA pros.
That is pretty impressive, actually.
And so, you know, it's sometimes like legitimately people were saying when LeBron was in high school that he was going to be one of the greatest players ever. They were saying that in high school, and he ended up, you know, living up to
stats.
You know, his life is an RPG, and he had really great stats.
Yeah,
But,
he had the right gear. He had the shoes that like Mike. What the fuck?
What happened?
There's a tiny skittery ass spider on my desk. Where the fuck did he come from? He's gone. I have too much shit on my desk.
You'll never see him again. Your girlfriend's gonna come home and find a spider and scream.
God, golly, damn it.
I hate when that happens. Like a couple months ago, I remember I was playing a game late at night and I saw a bug crawl across my computer screen, and obviously I didn't want to hit my computer screen, so I reach over, I go, punch it really hard. I grab a paper towel and I come back, and I know for a fact the bug was like on the center of my screen. So I was like, if I run and grab a towel, I ran and grabbed a towel, came back, it was gone. And I was like, how is that possible? How? I was literally gone for like 2 seconds.
Oh man, I gotta fucking clean my area here. I just every time I do, it takes me like 2 days, and I put a bunch of other shit on my desk, and it's just a mess. I have gummy bears. I didn't even want these.
Why do you have gummy bears?
I don't know.
You just impulse buy gummy bears, or was it your girlfriend?
I think our step niece gave it to her, who put it on my desk. But like, I like gummy fruit snacks, but gummy bears are just the wrong kind of chewy.
I love gummy candy in general, but I can't have any right now because I just had a filling.
Oh yeah.
So, which sucks because I really do like gummy-related candy.
Oh, never mind. I thought these were sugar-free. They're gluten-free. Whatever.
Do you have an L-shaped desk, or do you have just a normal square desk?
I got a square desk with a pull-out, what do you call it? Like keyboard shelf. It's also got it has a little cubby for a computer tower. I just got I fucked up my. Oh my god.
Are you okay?
Yeah, sorry. So.
This podcast is off the rails today.
I know, a quick tangent, right? So I have Steam released the Steam Deck, right?
Yeah.
And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Steam Link. So the Steam Link and the Steam Controller. I bought those because they were selling them for crazy cheap because they were getting rid of them, right? So I got a Steam Link and I got a Steam Controller for like maybe $30 total for the two of them. And the Steam Link is awesome. It's legitimately awesome. It's super good. But it also came with a USB extender. So you plug it into your computer, you plug that thing into the little dongle hub, and then it's a really long cord that you can plug other things into. So my keyboard, because it is plugged into that, and it's actually really, that's probably the worst part about it. It's really shitty quality or something, because the slightest adjustment completely disconnects and then reconnects the keyboard every single time. And every time my keyboard reconnects, it opens up its program for the keyboard. So that just happened. But the reason I need to get this extension is because this cubby hole that is on my desk is too small to hold my computer. My computer is bigger, and if you're gonna have a gaming computer or any kind of useful computer, it's not gonna fit in this tiny hole, because this desk is like this desk is at least 15 years old, probably older. And it actually used to be at my aunt and uncle's house, and then they gave it to my parents, and then I stole it from my parents' house because they weren't using it. It was already kind of where I was living there. It was a whole weird thing. I'm not gonna get into it, but the area that I was staying in was, I had this desk as like a barrier, because we're broke. All right, I didn't have enough rooms to go around. Yeah, so all that shit it was what just happened. Is the computer can't fit here, so I have to plug in the thing, and the thing's plugged in, but it's got an extender that's too loose, so it just keeps resetting. Oh man, I was playing Minecraft last night, and it happened while I was in the middle of playing, and luckily, I mean, I'm on a mushroom island in Bedrock Edition. I don't know if this is also true in Java, because I haven't found many mushroom islands in Java, but Bedrock, the mushroom islands don't spawn any hostile mobs, so I was safe. But when it reconnected, it didn't actually like reinitialize within the game, so I had to actually just restart it anyway, which doesn't normally happen. Normally I could just keep playing once it reconnects and it's fine, but it was a little weird. Anyway, sports games suck, actually, and if those are all you play, you're not a real gamer.
I mean, so when I was in college, I had a friend. He's still my friend. I had a friend that when we lived in the same dorm room sophomore year, and he bought a PS4 Pro, and he never really played. He played sports games growing up. He had a PS2. It's actually kind of funny because he was the guy that came to visit. We played the newest Madden, and even he was like, "This game sucks." But so he grew up with PS2, and he had like all the sports games back then. PS2 had an absurd amount of sports games, like absurd amount, because at the time, instead of it just being
every
EA,
game.
Yeah, well, yeah, but instead of it just being EA that made sports games, everyone had the opportunity to make sports games in that era. So when we were living together sophomore year, he bought a PS4 Pro, and he got, at the time, the newest Madden, the newest MLB game, and the newest 2K. And I remember one day, it was like Saturday, and I was coming back from work. I worked a telemarketing job that time. And I came back from my telemarketing job, and he was in the dorm. He was playing Madden, and I just remember him being so freaking mad. I was like, "Hey man, you're putting the mad in mad," and he is like a very soft-spoken guy, never curses. Swear to God, he looked at me and goes, "Shut the fuck up!" And I'm like, "Oh, he's actually mad." But yeah, dude, sports games are trash. Like, and like I've played. You know, this is gonna sound freaking funny. Wii Sports is genuinely entertaining. Mario Golf.
That's because it's actually fun.
Yeah, I played Mario Golf on the GameCube, and it's genuinely fun. So like, you can make a fun sports game. It's just all the one, and of course, like the big complaint too is like, how do you have microtransactions in a sports game? Like how? But for some reason they're able to. And
LeBron
so, like,
is in a paywall.
Yeah, to get LeBron, you know. So like, if I look at the newest Madden, like the newest one that just came out, they have something called Madden Ultimate Team, and what Ultimate Team is like, you basically buy cards to create your ultimate team. So like, if I bought a card set and I got Drew Brees and like uh, it's
Is
basically like, do you
these
want?
are like digital cards, right?
Yeah, these are like digital
Okay.
card packs you can buy to create your ultimate team, and then you take that team online and play other people, right? So you kind of see where I'm getting at here. Like, I
Yeah, yeah.
could grind out cards and get the best team, or just buy cards. And it's the same thing with NBA 2K. You know, if I want a diamond LeBron, I could grind out for hours, or I could spend $100 and get a diamond LeBron.
Oh, sorry, you got a bronze LeBron. It's literally the worst season and the worst stats he's ever had.
It's like I spent 80 hours sitting here and I only got a silver LeBron.
Bro,
But
that's fucking ridiculous.
I mean, it's EA. I mean, are you really surprised though? It's EA. I mean,
No,
who
I
else
mean
but
they're gonna
EA?
find their way to grind money out of anybody. The fact is that they wanted to do that for Battlefront 2, but enough people actually care about that they got into trouble with it. But this, no one of importance cares about.
Pretty much.
Interesting. Wow, that is pretty shitty. And yeah, nothing unexpected either.
And I'll tell you too, because it didn't used to be that way with sports games. Like, so I recently went back and played an old Madden from like the PS2 era because I was curious. I was like, what were Madden games been like that back then? And you had so much you could do in that game that wasn't just playing a football game. Like, you could create your own football player and have him join the pros, and you could have him, like, you could be a wide receiver, you could be a quarterback, you could play on defense. And if you were good, you would get like sponsorships, and you could film commercials and be in movies and do all these cool things. And you could like do like practice drills before football games, and you could like do workout drills and whatnot, and you could like meet celebrities and you know, like all these random stuff that they didn't have to put in the games back then, but they decided to anyway because they thought it'd be a really cool thing to have in the game. But nowadays it's all like the same cookie cutter, bare minimum, you know, like not much effort. Like, there used to be a game where you could play as an NFL coach and you could just be a coach, and they don't do that anymore because why spend the time and effort to do that when you can just pump out the same Madden every single year?
Yeah.
And it's like the same with like other sports games. Like, I played an old WWE game from the PS2 era, and in that game you could be like a GM, and you could like set up matches every week, and if you got enough people to come and watch the shows, you know, you could unlock other things. Or if you didn't have enough people come and buy your tickets, you get fired. And they don't have that anymore. It's just the same crap every year that they charge you $70 for. And of course, people are still buying it because if people didn't buy it, it wouldn't exist. But enough people are buying it to where EA is like, yeah, we're just going to keep pumping it out. We don't care.
Well, what makes the wrestling ones actually really cool is the character creation stuff they do, because you can do such ridiculous, unhinged nonsense, like in like Street Fighter. Was it 6 that just came out? It just came out.
Yes.
6 yeah, the unbelievable stuff. I love that character creators are putting a glossiness leveling that you can put on your characters so that they're just look super sweaty all the time. It's such a weird thing. I would never want that, but it's really funny. It's one of the best things in Dragon's Dogma 2 when you come across someone's abomination that they create, and it's just this horrible, sweaty goblin man. It's just... Hello, Arisen. I offer my services to you. It's ridiculous.
I don't know if you ever played this series, but the game that always had the craziest character creator to me was Soul Calibur.
Oh, I never really
games?
played Soul Calibur. I've never been a good fighter. I've been so shitty at fighting games. I've never really wanted to continue playing. I played some Tekken on PS1, and that's when I realized I was never going to get good.
Yeah. So I don't know why you saying that derailed my. I don't know why you saying that derailed my train of thought, but it was like, I don't know why.
Sorry. Soul Calibur, character creator.
Listen, speaking of RPGs, right? I didn't max out my speech skill. Okay, so bear with me.
Oh, fair enough. Me neither.
You know, it's actually kind of funny. So to finish up the Soul Calibur thing, Soul Calibur had a really funny character creator, and like, if you basically people were just making characters with huge dicks, is what they were doing. In Soul Calibur.
You could do. You had like a bulge rating.
No, but you could like manipulate items and put them on your character to make it look like they had a huge dick.
That's fucking hilarious.
And like and when I was playing the one that was not the most recent. No, it was the one with Geralt, Soul Calibur 6. I'd be
Oh,
playing
really?
online. I think Soul Calibur 6 is the most recent one that had Geralt from The Witcher. Yeah, it
That's
came out
cool.
in 2018. But so great game, and I was playing it, and I remember playing it in the living room in the house that I was living in, and my friends came to watch, and I was playing online, and it was like 3 people in a row with massive dicks, and they're like, "What the hell are you playing?" And I'm like, "No, you don't understand. This isn't normal, I swear." But
This game's called cockfighting, okay? It's a play on words.
but yeah, that had a really funny character creator. To talk about to finish up the conversation on RPGs, and if the audience didn't realize, this is the RPG episode of this podcast.
It is now.
Yeah. Whenever I play RPGs, like when I went, cut that out.
I don't know if I'm gonna do that. Actually, that was really funny.
Oh lordy! When I went back and played Skyrim, this podcast is a disaster, but it's
This is
amazing
the
at the
best,
same
the
time.
greatest episode ever.
Oh my god! When I went back and played Skyrim, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna max out speech, and see what happens. And lo and behold, my playthrough sucked.
Oh yeah, no, speech is not a useful stat.
I thought if I did that, I could unlock all these cool, because like it's in Fallout, you can do that. If you max out your intelligence and speech, you can solve a lot of issues. But you can't do that in Skyrim.
Yeah, I
Still
think
cheated by
Skyrim's
that.
less about the creative problem solving than the active problem solving. Like, use your magic or your other skills, but not so much of, oh yes, I'm a doctor. Let me tell you how you can save this man. That's definitely more of a Fallout ballpark.
Did Star Citizen have kill trees and like speech stuff?
Star Citizen or Starfield?
Well, Starfield. What's the one that?
Bethesda?
Yeah.
Okay, Starfield. Yeah, Star Citizen's a different game.
Oh, what the heck is Star Citizen?
Star Citizen is one of those forever early access games where they sell ships at fucking $300 a piece.
Oh.
Real money, by the way.
That's sad.
I have Starfield actually. First of all, it's a very, very cool game, and it does some incredible things. If you want a space simulator that has you flying your ships, handling cargo, sometimes even people, like all sorts of things like that, that is the thing to get. Its NPCs are a little unfinished, and I haven't played it in a long time, so there have been patches and updates and stuff, so its stability is probably a lot better than when I played it, but it's certainly not a stable game when I played it, which is why I stopped, because it would just crash constantly. And it would be like a server-wide crash. They were called 30Ks, where it's just like error 30,000 would happen, and the entire server would shut down, and everyone would have to just relaunch this game, log back in. But the game takes forever to load, so I stopped bothering. And it's got like all the technical stuff you want from a space sim game. It's really cool. Their biggest bullshit is that they are selling ships for $300, $400. I'm pretty sure you can buy a ship for like $1,000 if you really wanted to. You can buy all these ships in game. That is possible with real game money, and it's not. It's a reasonable grind. Like, these are spaceships, so they're expensive, but they're doable. Or you could just buy it and it's attached to your account forever and you'll keep it, because they usually do wipes regularly, which is kind of a pain in the ass. Anyway, that's Star Citizen. Starfield does have skill trees, and options and speech skill checks. Actually, they have a persuasion mini game. Well, it's a mini game is a weird thing to say. It's a selection of dialogues with a random chance. So that's actually a very interesting thing, and the speech skill, which of course is handled a bit differently than it is in Fallout and in Skyrim. It's it's a lot more valuable, I think, than the other games would have it be. Um, I think the choices you can do and the things that you can do by just convincing someone kind of makes it a little overpowered. There's even a thing during a mission that you get this item that allows you to convince people easier, and it's honestly kind of a cheap tool. That's it's really cool, but yeah, Starfield does have that kind of stuff.
One of these days, maybe when it goes on a steep sale, I'll try it out. But it's really, I think
Yeah,
just hearing you and one of our friends talk about it, it really just doesn't seem like something that's worth playing right now.
yeah, it is a fun game, and I enjoyed playing it. I just wish it felt better. I wish its longevity was more stable, and that'll come with time. But yeah, now is not the time to get it. Starfield is not worth getting until the mod scene um, becomes official support and the DLC at least comes out. And that at that point, I would definitely recommend picking up on a sale, or if they do like a season pass kind of thing where you get the game and all the DLC. I think picking that up for the price of the base game might be worth it. I don't even know what I did. I have to check.
Well, this podcast has been a roller coaster, and I think that's a good point to stop for tonight. Everyone in the audience, I want you to tell us in the comments what your favorite RPG is and why. And we hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Lucas, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, also let us know what your the like the genres you can't get into, why you couldn't get into them, because that was like the original like thing for this. RPGs are a big part about there's a lot of different kinds, like we said. Like there's JRPGs, there's just the RPG name, which encompasses so many different types of games, like Dragon's Dogma and then Mass Effect. They're completely different, but they're both RPGs. But yeah, let us know what's your go-to genre or your anti-go-to genre, the thing that you avoid the most. And love to hear from you. But thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. Hopefully we'll see you next week with the next podcast episode. We'll catch you later.